Hello. All right. So, I titled this one Gavin the Stupid Christian, and I gave myself the name Gavin Jesus Follower Noob. I'm just going to lean into my weakness here. Um, it's interesting is at my small group yesterday, uh, one thing that caught my eye was making a list of our weaknesses. And so I have my list of weaknesses, things that I don't do well naturally. Um, but I have practiced receiving feedback from others, and I appreciate feedback. So, um, but yeah, things I'm not good at. I could talk about those, but the reason I make this dream is because in my last dream I called other people stupid. I'll lean into my own stupid a little bit here. Um, yeah, I had some bad dreams after my last dream. I had two bad dreams, and I think they basically told me the first one told me people are listening to you and they're thinking you are dumb and crazy. So I get that. I sound dumb and crazy. And it's good to know how people perceive you. And I know that's not everybody, but I know that that's how many people see me. And then the second dream was is that I embarrassed myself. It told me I embarrassed myself, and I actually I woke up at 2 a.m. I shot Tayo a message and I apologized. I put some apologies out to Tayo, uh, and then we had a good conversation. Um, but yeah, so that how am I stupid? I listened to Chris Howard, and the thing I tried to do, I could have done better by talking about a more generalized story, and so I will. I go to, I've gone to hunt, go duck hunting with family and friends, a bunch of white males, and with these family and friends, sometimes I'll hear these Christians who I love say racist jokes. And then the question becomes, well, what am I supposed to do when I hear these people who identify as a Christian saying racist jokes? And so there's you know, probably the worst thing about me is I'll sometimes be a perfectionist, and then I could just judge those guys and say they're terrible. I could say they're wolves in sheep's clothing. Um, and I don't even think I realized what I was saying when I accused someone of being a wolf in sheep's clothing. I think for Christians hear that and they're basically saying, "Oh, he's not saved," and that's pretty damning for the ears of the Christian. Um, and so, uh, yeah, I'm just admitting to that. Yes, I'm stupid. I'm a baby Christian. I'm a noob. Um, I'd like to learn how to rebuke better. I'd like to speak better words. Um, to Chris Howard's point, I should have used a better example. Um, and I could use this example. And basically, the first step is you could approach someone directly, right? Um, and I have, I've approached family members directly when they're not near their friends, and so that would speak toward another weakness is sometimes I'm impatient. And to Tyler's point, I could have been more patient in my last video. Uh, but I wanted to formally apologize to Tayo. I called him a liar. I don't like doing that. I don't want to do that. He said that he wants me to call him a liar if I think he is, but I don't like doing that publicly. I'd rather us be go talk it one on one, and then I could call him a liar because Tayo's one of my favorite Christians. Um, and it's just so I feel so bad that I used words which would paint Tayo in a poor light. So, um, and I appreciate the power of our words. And so Tayo became protective of people he loves and that he knows better than I do. So, yeah. Well, if I can collect myself, I'll say some nice things about Marcher. And I'll try to make Marcher's point because I know his point. I disagree with the way he makes his point, um, but he does. He's trying to make a good point. There's a risk. There's a real risk that we disregard the truth and believe a lie to our own destruction. And so Marcher has come in and he's uh, he's trying to help people see this word proposition, which already carries a lot of meaning for people who paid attention to John Vervaeke and his four P's of knowing. And I think um, the risk of undermining and not appreciating the truth is that uh, we can believe a lie, which can lead to uh, our own destruction and the destruction of the good, um, the beautiful, and so much. So um, we want to be careful not to sacrifice and ignore the truth. And I think Marcher just wants to be a counterbalance to make sure that people aren't overemphasizing things like um, these non-propositional ways of knowing according to the John Vervaeke language. And so Marcher would say that the text, for example, which you know is difficult trying to translate between languages. Even though we're using English, we can mean different things by different words. But the text can map onto the truth, and we don't want our we don't want to risk disregarding the text and the truth it points to. So I think that's my attempt to try and explain the good that Marcher is trying to do. And then I'll follow up with uh, I listened to my pastor, and I got a megachurch pastor, and he was teaching. He's got a book that he just released with John Maxwell called Jesus, the High Road Leader. And in the last chapter, spoiler alert, you um, you need grace and truth combined. So if you come in all with truth, it can go wrong, and if you come in all with grace, it can go wrong. And my pastor says lead with grace. And I think I agree because none of us are perfect. So there you have it. I think that I got overprotective of Nate Howe and Sherry. And, who's to know when you are over or underprotective? Um, and then I know that, for example, um, Marcher's friends, um, who know him better than me, uh, got protective as well. It's very natural. So let's check in at work. Make sure that there's nothing I should attend to there. All right. I've been ignoring the live feed. I think sometimes it's good to ignore things, um, but sometimes it's bad to ignore things. So, and to the point on Marcher hiding his identity, you know, there are good reasons to hide your identity, and Marcher is his pseudonym, and I've never felt offended personally by Marcher. Um, he's never said anything mean to me or about me. So I was responding to there was a perhaps an overprotectiveness in me for uh, some people I love, like Jacob Pacioretty, Nate Heil, Sherry, and Luke Thompson. and so many other people. And I am embarrassed. For some reason, I'm embarrassed of my tears. Um, I guess I gotta laugh. All right, so everybody can laugh at me now. Ooh, what a funny world. I'm a cuss. I'm a clown. There you go. If you would like to hop in. Jeez. Now my heart rate just accelerated. Got snot all over me. Ridiculous. I wanted to throw out Sam Tiedemann. I love him. That's one person I thought of. Chad, what's up, brother?
What's up, man? Hang on a second.
How are you?
There you are. Good. How are you?
I'm feeling better.
How are these earbuds? They're brand new to me.
Sound
And,
good.
all right. Yeah. Well, I can't really relate because I don't ever really make mistakes. I'm just constantly doing right and good and healing everywhere I go. So I can't really speak on your pain, but you know. If you could stop crying publicly, that'd be good because you're making all of us feel uncomfortable. And, you know,
Oh man. Yeah, there
it's,
for a minute I was thinking, should I have done this live? Like, golly.
well, I think there's something to the, uh, sometimes I direct amends to such people that we may have harmed or have caused a rift in communication. I think that's always like the best bet. But then there's if you get the sense that you've perhaps um, made a greater harm to like the 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 fellows at large, then I think a public an amends can go a long way. Um, for at the very least um, for for each of us to take our own steps towards humility. If you're
Yeah.
like me, I know I'm like humble like 99% of the time, but like that 1% of the time I really have to take steps towards humility because otherwise like I said, I don't make mistakes, but if I did, I would have to probably find ways to be genuine and sincere.
You know,
Uh,
Chad, it's funny. Like I'm sitting in church yesterday, and it's just like, and even in small group, and I'm like, people talk about like their how hypocritical they are and and how and their sins, and I'm just like, God, I know I'm sinning. It's like, please just show me. And so, you know, it's hard to see them.
Yeah.
Well, it's hard for me, I should say. I've spent my whole life thinking I'm perfect, so I really have. You kind of joke about it, like you're not. You actually don't do that, but I've spent most of my 40 years of life thinking I'm the best thing on earth. So, and that's for real.
Well,
That's not a joke. So,
I mean, when I'm in it though, I feel it. You know what I mean? When I'm feeling justified, let's say. You know, and like honestly, a lot of my I think where most of my character defects really flare up, like most acutely, is then when I sense injustices that are being carried out on others, and so in other words, like if I get the sense that you're taking the Lord's name in vain, then I'm better step in and show you how you're doing that. And then the second time I do that, I begin to take the Lord's name in vain. And
what a strange dance.
and, and I think the grace of kind of the pain of waking up to the pangs of spiritual growth, things like when I fall short and uh, like become the the arbiter of other people's faith, and I feel that the pain of that, like that's I don't know. I think there's so much grace in that that it's kind of annoying because you think that grace is always feel good stuff. Sometimes grace is uh, it's like the idea of the truth will set you free, but it'll ruin your day first. That's very gracious. Um,
Yeah.
uh,
Well,
and the idea, yeah,
I was going to say, Kim and I were talking this morning, and I was talking to her, and it's kind of like at some point there's this truth, and I can either tell you the truth now, but this if I don't tell it to you at the right time, at some point, waiting longer than that is going to make it hurt even more,
hmm
right? So it's like there's something weird about the truth sometimes, in that it's gonna it's gonna hurt no matter what, and there might be a saying the truth too soon, and there might be a saying the truth way too late. And I've made that mistake of doing it too quickly and waited too long as well. But it hurts. It hurts no matter what. You know.
right. Well, and sometimes it's like maybe you just think that it's the truth, and in fact it's not.
Yeah, you're right
And
about
so
that.
then we start to like you know that's the Lord's name stuff that I'm talking about. It's like we take it in vain, and it's like and oftentimes for me, when I'm stepping like that, when I'm out there stepping on people's toes, I really get the sense like that I'm doing it because um, for genuine authoritative purposes. Like I'm trying to be authentic, but the problem with being authentic is we're not authorities. I don't think that I am an authority. I don't think I should be. Though when I sense injustices, that's when the authority in me wants to step up and be, whether it's the AA police, the the the, the church
But
meeting police, the
some,
TLC police.
but
You know,
sometimes we do need the perspective of good, wise people who are trying to be unbiased, can act like judges.
yeah, no, I get that.
Yep.
But
And I
just
and I I,
know,
I would seek that out, right? Part of the
yeah,
reason I'm doing
just
this
know
is I
that
seek it out.
if you assume that role, it comes with a great cost, and
Yeah.
like I don't find joy in playing that role.
Yeah.
Sometimes I just can't help it. And like, have you ever had where you really genuinely felt like, and maybe it even was the right thing to do, but it hurt so tremendously bad to do it, and you felt like, because you know that as a person you don't do it perfectly, so it's like,
Yeah. Well, it's good to remember that.
yeah, right. Well, that's why I need people in my corner that um, can see things uh, more objectively about my own situation. They're not, they're they're invested in my, like, uh, they care for me, but they care for me enough to be more objective with me than I am with myself, I guess.
You say someone in your corner, it makes me think of like a boxing match, but in a boxing match, you would have also a referee as well. But
Right.
yeah, I get it. I get it.
Like I called my dad or my sponsor about this situation with my father, and man, he was not letting me off the hook at all on this, and it was irritating me because I'm like, can't you just see that what I'm feeling and the things that I'm saying are genuinely true? That my dad definitely did these wrongs, and no doubt my sponsor definitely can see it, but it does no good in co-signing my bullshit, right?
Yeah.
Because he needs me to see things from a different angle, one that I'm unwilling to see at the moment, and so,
Yeah.
uh, and like what it boiled down to was, in this particular situation was, Chad, you expect somebody to be and act a way that is impossible for them to act or feel or see. They just are not equipped to do it. It's like asking the dog to, write a simple sentence on a piece of paper. Like, they can't do it. You know, they're not equipped to do it, and we assume that, because I feel a certain way, or I'm able to feel a certain way, or see things from a certain angle. Somebody else should be equally as capable or responsible uh, for uh, for seeing their own defects of character. It's
Right.
like, no, they can't see it. They're just not equipped to do it.
That's
That's
great.
hard to swallow, man.
Yeah. Yeah. And then there's the,
Yeah.
but and then like when you love, you hope, right? Like so, like you would hope for there to be a even a better love and a stronger love, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So
But you could hope all day, and if you want, I like the key for this situation was I can hope for it, but the only way it's going to happen is if I bend myself and to be more capable of loving, because obviously they can't, and so I have to be the one to make the demonstration. It's really hard. Nobody likes that. Nobody wants, because like, no, they need to, because I've been doing it forever. And it's like, no, yeah, no, it's not going to work that way. Mercy, mercy is. I don't know if we talk about mercy enough around here, because we talk about sacrifice a lot and grace, but mercy, we all want it, but none of us want to give it away. And that's hard. It's hard. It's a hard thing to offer for others.
I think I've been on both.
So
I've
I'm
tried.
glad
I've been.
you're on here crying.
Oh man, sometimes I have too much mercy, is what I've been told. So, but
Do you think that's true?
I don't think so. I'm one of the least trusting people, most skeptical people I've ever met.
Then there you go. That's all you need to listen to. I don't. That's what I'm saying. Like, I don't. If somebody's saying, "Oh, you're really nice," maybe you're too merciful. That's, to me, that's often like an indicator that nah, that's probably not true, because there's never enough mercy. There's never enough mercy. Do you think Christ was too merciful? You know, like and we ain't coming nowhere near as close to the kind of
Yeah.
mercy that he offers.
Yeah. As Christians, the answer would be he was not too merciful. If you're not a
Right,
Christian, then you might say he was too merciful. But,
right.
hey, David.
Hello, hello.
Oh, it's Busatil. What up, dude?
Hey, Chad. I kind of wanted to come on because I've been thinking about this passage for a little bit. It's from 1 Corinthians, and it's but when we are judged by the Lord, we are disciplined so that we may not be condemned along with the world. It's this weird connection that Paul is making, that we are judging not to be condemned. And I think this is where it becomes very difficult for people to understand. A lot of judging and assessing what was right and wrong is for the sake of completely writing people off, getting rid of them, and never being in connection with them again. But Paul is presenting this other possibility where we could be judged to be disciplined so that we could be restored. That the kind of judgment that is helpful in a community is a kind of judgment that does not lead to condemnation. Does that make sense?
Sounds good.
And we actually, I think, have an example of it because there's a dude in 1 Corinthians who's sounds like he's being condemned. Some of the worst language imaginable. It's a guy, man, we really hope he's sleeping with his stepmom, because it literally just says his father's wife. So could even be his mom. But so it's this guy is doing something, and Paul says, look, he's doing something worse than even, like, I don't even know any people outside of the church that are doing things this bad, right? Like, and he says, I want this person to be turned over to Satan. Okay. So he's kind of shut out from the church. The fellowship is taken away. And why I think it's very interesting is because in 2 Corinthians, we get Paul saying, look, he said he was wrong. He said he was sorry. He did what he needed to do to show that. Now we're going to forgive him and we're going to move on. We're not going to hold it against him anymore. So we actually see an example within the two letters actually occurring where someone has been judged, but then it isn't for condemnation because it gets them to change their behavior, and then they're brought back, and then Paul needs to make sure that the community is actually accepting this person who has admitted this wrong. I think Gavin, that's what you're trying to do.
A lot of this isn't me trying. A lot of this is I pray and say, do you really want me to go do that? And and then you put your foot in your mouth. My pastor talked about the story of Joseph yesterday, and the whole series is talking about the comeback, and he just talks about all the things that happened to Joseph, and this kind of nagging phrase that said, "And the Lord was with him," you know. And then I thought about all the people who've seemed to mistreat Joseph. It's like, man, what was happening to those people? And then how did Joseph feel about those people? And yeah, it's I don't, yeah. What I ask is like, as I say, well, what can I do to help? You know. And so I then go try to do what I can do to help. And then, then there's a choice. It's like, well, is this about you? Who's this about? So.
Hey, I got to get going, guys, because I'm about to lose you. But God bless everybody. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Chad.
Bye, Chad. Great seeing you again. Is part of how you're putting yourself forward, Gavin, because you were rebuked? Because I have, like,
Well,
I don't know, because as best as I understand, weren't you engaging in a bad way on the Discord enough that you were like taken off? Wasn't that like, isn't this part of your story?
I initially messed up with the process of rebuking in Matthew 18 by going
Mm-hmm.
publicly on air and calling out the authorities, instead of even trying to have a private conversation with the authorities. And so, yeah, just a leaping into trying to act with justice without going through some patient step and expecting perfection of everyone around me while thinking I'm perfect. That's the reason I got removed from Bridges of Meaning, right? It's because I was doing the rebuking process in a way that Jesus does not teach. And I'm still practicing it, right? So I'm getting better, though, I think. It's been good.
But you were also brought back.
No, I haven't. I'm still exiled from Bridges of Meaning.
Oh, okay. Okay, I didn't know that.
They don't have a process of reconciliation there. There's no mercy there, from what I can tell. Yeah, but it's not that big a deal because there's like this. The place is big, on the internet. It's kind of abstract. Like I'm still on the internet, aren't I? There's people that I love, so it's not that big a deal. When it first happened, though, it's like you can become offended, right? And I was, when stuff like this happens, it's you want to protect yourself from being try to protect your reputation. Try to. I mean, that's probably the embarrassing thing about crying on camera. It's like, as it's happening, it's like, what the hell? It's like I can't control this.
I think something that has helped me in the past in situations like this, because I really do believe that in order to have any sense of right and wrong, you immediately struggle with judgment and putting yourself in the place of God.
Yeah, my children do it all every day.
But part of what I've seen as well within my own life is there'll be some patterns that I have found can help guide me in the way that I judge. And one of the examples for me was I would pray for the hard things I was praying for other people. It was like in the things that I was asking to occur in other people's lives, I'd ask to occur in mine.
Yeah.
So I had a friend who was just being very,
you have to
very
remember
stubborn.
to do that. You actually would have to remember to do that because it would be easy to forget that as well, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So I was praying for a friend, and he was in a relationship with the wrong woman. We'll just say that. And he was coming, and he knew it too. And I'm trying to have a conversation with him about what is supposed to happen and what is gonna occur in his life. And I'm begging him not to do this thing. Then afterwards I'm praying, and I start praying to God that something horrible would happen to my friend if that's what's necessary in order for him to make the right decision. And then I start praying for myself that if there's anything I'm being stubborn about, I prayed and invited God to just wreck things in my life in order to bring about true repentance and goodness in my life.
Yeah.
Right. Like to actually say that is what I want.
Fun times.
Literally calling condemnation on myself or just like disaster, because disaster is sometimes good.
but then, hopefully it's all worth it. Right. And that's the trust, I guess. Right. Yeah. So let me see if my CTO is awake yet, because I do need to send him a message.
Mm-hmm.
Hang out here until then. He might be busy. I'm glad you're here, David. What was the best thing that happened yesterday?
What was the best thing that happened yesterday? I'm trying to remember the early part of yesterday. I have a friend who has just come home after months of being secluded because he's had a bone marrow transplant.
Ooh.
And my wife and I went and had dinner with him. And the last couple of times I saw him, because your immune system is just gone, right? We had to wear masks and all this other stuff. And so this was the first time that he's been back home, because the hospital was like an hour away that had the best treatment. So he was there. So this is the first time I've been in his house for months and was sitting there having dinner with him. That was without a doubt the best part of my day yesterday.
Wow. Yeah, at my small group is a lady who told it I think she has a testimony that required bone marrow transplant, and I think they had a hard time getting donors.
Yeah.
I guess it depends on your genetics. But yeah, I imagine that was quite the experience, if people can actually place themselves there in that situation. I know that's hard. Wow.
Mm-hmm. And to be at the end of anything, to be like, oh my God, it might actually be done, and he might actually be okay now. Yeah.
Wow. Even better.
Yeah. What was it for you?
Yesterday? Wow. Oh, there's quite a few moments. I love hugging my children.
Not bad.
That's quite the experience. I think a lot of people are blind to that experience, you know? So It's a good one. When I held my firstborn, I got to really experience unconditional love, you know? So that was great. 30 years old, never really having had any unconditional love. So quite the experience.
I'm really struggling right now. This year, my 40th birthday is coming up in October, and my wife wants to do something, and she's just like, what do you want? Like, what do you want to do? What are we going to do for your 40th? And I have no idea. And I didn't like my birthday until I got married. And that feeling of being cared for, and like, yeah, just that someone really cares about what would make you happy and everything. I still don't entirely know what to do with it. So just being asked with someone caring, what do you want, I'm still struggling to figure out what I'm supposed to do here.
Yeah. Yes, it's good to also remember to, a lot of times, like I was talking to my wife this morning, it's like there's things that I'll think and I don't say that in it. And basically the encouragement this morning was I need to express these good things that I think. I need to get better at that, because there's love and there's care inside that I don't always express. So it is cool to be loved and to remember not only loving but also expressing your love. let's see. I saw a Clint D quote. I trust Clint. Let's see what he had to say. People are a lot like computers. If the processor is bogged down, stop pushing buttons in an attempt to make it complete the command. It doesn't speed up at all, but will make it worse. Some pastoral advice he received after an incident. And then Clint says, similarly, if offense is given or taken, slow down and quit pushing buttons. Let them or yourself process it. Yeah, there's some things require an urgency. My brain can, like, I've heard about this pattern of a male brain that can like focus and tune everything else out, and it can be really good if you're disarming a bomb, right? You don't want to get distracted, but rarely are we actually doing that. But mine can turn on, and so something to be careful about with my male brain. It's that just become obsessed and focused on something. Well, it sounds like you did breakfast with me, David.
I did, but it was not breakfast food. It was cabbage roll casserole. That's how I roll. I don't care. Meal times mean nothing to me.
You didn't even heat it up.
I did heat it up.
Oh, you did heat it up. There you go.
Yeah, I would have been on sooner.
You would have been what?
I would have been on with you sooner if I was not heating it up.
Gotcha. Yeah, my wife, she can't understand how some I don't heat up some things. I'll just eat it cold. Like it's just food, But so yeah.
I have to say though, Gavin, also just getting back to what was previously stated, where I didn't follow all of today's stream. I saw a lot of yesterday's. I also had an experience, I think, with the same person. I'm not sure. And it was not a good experience. And if it is who I'm thinking of, I was engaging in conversation less because this person was always around. I was like, I don't find these conversations productive or even interesting. And so I'm like, okay, I'll step away.
And that's fair. It's like, it would be nice for us to be interested in different things peacefully. You know what I mean? Right. So, sometimes it's not the conversation for you. Sometimes.
Yeah.
But it would be nice if it's nice if we can get along peacefully and love each other despite having different interests. But I don't know if that. I don't know. The internet's a strange place, and I don't think that we are well adapted for it. And so we're figuring a lot of this out, like just on the fly.
Yeah.
No, I don't. I've never felt offended by the guy. The guy I'm talking about is Marcher. I've never felt offended by him at all. But so that's to be fair, and I think he's very smart, and I know what he's trying to point out, and it's good to point that out. And honestly, I live in a neighborhood with a bunch of old people, and it occurred to me after I made that video on Saturday, it's like I really want to be able to bridge the divide between kind of that old people and the young people. And I talked to Tayo this morning, and I think, there's something of like a younger generation will come in with a slightly different culture. And if I have a preference for an older generation often throughout history looks at the younger generation and says, don't do that. That's bad. Right. And so I think some of that might be happening as I'm kind of an old man in a younger body. I know I look like I'm 20 years old. But yeah, I think the youngins, they do things that the older generations just disapprove of. And, sometimes the younger generation needs to listen to the older generation, and sometimes the older generation needs to listen to the younger generation, and we got maybe take turns listening to each other.
Hmm.
I think some of that is happening too. Like the whole um, like like in the live chat, there's ways of acting where, and I've done it where I'll end up saying things that are mean, you know. And
Yeah.
Paul Vanderklay does it sometimes. He likes to do it sometimes, you know. Um, and so figuring all that out and without just banning something that's good, right? You know, there's some behaviors we don't want. Some behaviors should be tolerated. You know, and figuring out which behaviors should or should not be tolerated where is difficult. And I think that's where the process of rebuking can happen, and it hopefully is done well.
Yeah. It's also hard because of how male friendship even works. There's this old maybe I don't want to get into it on Jacob's channel because it involves too much swearing. But Slavoj Žižek was talking about.
You're also on my channel.
What?
You're also on my
Okay.
channel.
Žižek was acquaintances with someone, but not close friends with this guy at, I think it was at a university. And one day this guy walks up and says something very insulting about his mother, about Žižek's mother. And Žižek is like, at that moment, I knew that what he was saying was, I want to become better friends. And it's this idea that like male friendship involves so many insults, like making fun of each other and riling each other up and doing this kind of stuff.
Yeah, and if you were an asshole like me, it was never a good friend, even though people treated me good. You never learned how to do it. Like the little kid that Jordan Peterson talks about, who never learned how to play well with others. So that can happen.
Right. Yeah, trying to figure out what that looks like and when you're crossing the line and when it's like.
Yep.
Yeah.
I forget the story, but yeah, I could be the guy that you tease too far and then overreacts, right? So, and then the friend group just kicks them out. So, with the recent, mental health categories, maybe there's more acceptance for weirdos, but still, there's a tradition of male bonding. And yeah, I've got a story. Like one time, my brother and my cousin were doing fake slaps. Have you ever seen the fake slap? Like you hold their
I don't know
face,
what a fake slap.
You hold their face with one hand and you come in with the other hand and bam, and like you would do in wrestling, fake wrestling.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And they were doing that to each other, and I came in to my cousin and I just slapped him in the face, and he all of a sudden his facial expression, his whole facial expression just dropped, and I immediately knew. I was like, uh-oh. And this is the pattern throughout my life.
I think I may be playing this game wrong.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, this is the pattern throughout my life, as I'm the guy who comes in and just does not understand the game that's being played, and makes a mistake. And it's like, oh, I can see I made a mistake. So, and then also being prideful and arrogant, and then blaming them instead of myself. So,
yeah.
Oh man, yeah, you're on to it, David. You're on to the kinds of patterns that can happen. Yeah, I think Tayo said the move I took on Saturday was like a feminine move, a relational aggression move kind of thing. And but you're kind of stuck with that. And if you're gonna do any kind of like battling on the internet, it's like it's like you're not really allowed to get out and actually wrestle, slap each other around.
Yeah.
But
well, and I've wondered about it. For me, even on Jacob's channel, is because my entrance into the corner was like basically getting into a big fight with Jacob, which you said you actually watched. So good on you. And I didn't think it went well at all. I was like, wow, that was a really fruitless conversation for like 4 hours. And Jacob messaged me and was just like, that was wonderful. He was just very encouraging afterwards. He was like, yeah, that was a really good conversation. I was like, was it?
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, there's, I think there's room for going over the line, and like if nobody ever crosses the line, it's the worst is if there's a crossing the line and there's no way of dealing with it, you know. I've seen that. I've participated in that.
Claire. I don't know Claire. Do you know Claire?
I do, and I was not even going to say that name.
Oh, sorry.
But it's just
sorry,
a name. Now David froze up. He doesn't know how to play this game. What game are we playing, David?
I don't know. So sorry. Part of this is because I'm on Jacob's channel. And this is also another thing for me, because I had a conversation that was public where there was some heated arguing, shall we say, had occurred. And I wasn't sure what I was supposed to be doing, because I started receiving messages from other people, and it was because of like I'm kind of in charge of what is occurring, which is also an interesting thing where you're like, you feel yourself dropping into different modes. How do I engage here? Like, am I quote unquote in charge right now?
Yeah. Yeah. I actually think that we haven't learned how to play in the public realm very well, and I've got ideas on how to do it, and I'm going to make mistakes. And so, there's a decision that has to be made about who gets on stream and which texts get amplified, which people, what names, stuff like that. I try to be careful about it. And I'm doing it all based on my imperfect judgments. But I think we're all called to try and be good judges and good leaders with discernment, not condemnation, hopefully. And so just because I wouldn't allow someone in here, that's not a condemnation, So it doesn't mean that they can't participate. Maybe they're over there in the live stream. I haven't. So there might be people I don't allow in here, but I allow in the live stream, right? And so I try to be careful with that and try to grow in wisdom and being able to do that. Because we haven't figured it out. There's no rule book to this.
Yeah.
It's a powerful tool that we have. Jesus taught about the power of our words, and our words became much more powerful with these technologies. So I take these things more seriously than a lot of people, and I'm not perfect, but I just got to try my best. So I can exclude from some spaces and include and allow them in other spaces.
Yeah. I've been wondering about perceived audience too. Perceived audience and how that affects the message. And I've actually been wondering about it's that Jordan Hall, John Vervaeke, Jordan Peterson conversation I've been thinking about, and wondering if something like that maybe it should be done intentionally. Mm-hmm. Well, you have one person who plays audience to a conversation so that the people talking know that it's for this other person. And they can only speak like 3 times in a 2-hour conversation. but it's
that's
two people talking for
that's
that
the
person.
that's the Jamie character in the Joe Rogan podcast.
Oh, that's good.
I've always kind of envied Jamie. It's like I want to be Jamie. I want to be Jamie.
That's interesting.
I want to sit there and
That's
control the
interesting.
cameras and the mics and have them just kind of weigh
Yeah.
into the, at least grab someone who could represent audience. Say, what do you say, audience? Who's right here, who I trust with this technology? He's probably a friend, a trusted friend to some degree, but he's not the guest. Jamie's not the star of the show, and he's not even the guest of honor. It's like that's the seat right there. I want to be Jamie.
And I don't know his face. I'm sure if I did some work, you could like find it.
Oh, his face. Yeah, I wonder.
Yeah, that's very interesting. That's an interesting idea.
Yeah. So the way I've treated this is that I'm speaking to all people throughout all space and time into the future, and that's the seriousness I take as I put stuff out on the internet. And I've made mistakes, and so like when I was blogging, I was trying to version control it and keep it updated, and trying to learn and allow the people of the future to see the learning happening. And but yeah, that's who I'm speaking to right now, including you. If we were to go up in private, I might say some different words.
Yeah,
I would tell you some things in private that I, that are personal, and talk about all kinds of things. It would be a more intimate setting. We would be able to kind of take turns earning trust with each other. It's hard to do that here.
Yeah,
but we can get some laughs and some tears and whatever else, right? Get to do it live. So
I have a friend,
David?
Yeah, this is something that I think I'm trying to make my audience smaller and smaller, or to have more and more connection with.
Yeah.
So if someone comes online, I want to make myself available to be someone that they can talk to separately and on my own kind of a thing. I want to be someone who can be someone that you can get in contact with.
So how can we get in contact with you, David?
I'm definitely on the Discord. I've also given my personal email address multiple times, david.j.buzatil@gmail.com.
And so we send you an email and you give us $5?
I mean, at some point I might.
That's how PayPal got started, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, trying to connect with people. I have a friend right now who has many videos on TikTok that have like over 100,000 views, and trolled hard enough that he got clipped by Ben Shapiro and a couple other places too. But because I'm actually like his friend in real space, or was his friend in real space, I can see that he's connecting with, like, if he makes a post on TikTok, it'll get 100,000 views, but on Facebook, it'll have 4 people who have given a thumbs up. Right? So he's connecting to hypothetical people that he's never talked to more than he's connecting to the real people that are around him. And I've been reflecting on that a lot, because I'm trying to build with actual people that I can put faces to, and names to, and that I can remember, as opposed to an audience.
Yeah. That's good, David. I like it. And that's where like a Discord voice chat can that's where something like that can happen too.
Yeah.
So do you want to call it quits and go to a Discord voice chat?
Sure, we can go there. Right. I'll
see you there,
and I'll find you soon. Bye.
All right, that's how you do it. That's how you do it. We'll probably be in the Jacob's Ladder Discord server. Hope y'all are doing good, and hope I got to represent. Yeah, I try to follow Jesus. That's it. I try. Do what you can.